There is a small change happening inside Social Security that most people will never hear about in a headline, but it can quietly affect how your future benefits line up if Social Security is part of your plan. These kinds of updates do not come with warning letters, and they often go unnoticed until someone realizes that a timeline they had in mind no longer fits the way the system actually works. Many people assume that once they have worked for enough years, everything will automatically fall into place. But Social Security uses specific thresholds that can change over time. If you have ever worked part-time, taken seasonal jobs, done freelance or gig work, or had years where your income dipped lower than usual, changes like this can shape how quickly you qualify without you realizing it. Understanding what is changing and why gives you more control over your planning instead of leaving things to chance. This update is for anyone who has worked and expects Social Security benefits to play a role in their future income, especially if your work history includes part-time, seasonal, or uneven earnings. Before we go any further, tap the like button so this update can reach other people who are trying to make sense of the same questions you're dealing with. I understand the frustration you're feeling because I see it every day. You click on a video hoping to finally get a straight answer, and you end up sitting through 15 to 25 minutes of a video that goes in circles, throws out big claims, and never shows you where any of the information is actually coming from. A lot of content out there is created quickly with AI, with no real checking of facts and no concern for how that affects you. That leaves you confused, worried, and sometimes even more stressed than before you clicked. You deserve better than that. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to add to your anxiety. Everything I share here is backed by official sources, so you can verify it yourself through the official reference links I mentioned in the description or the pinned comment. I keep these videos focused and within about 9 to 12 minutes because I respect your time and I care about giving you real answers you can trust. Not long ago, I heard from someone who had been picking up freelance work for years and assumed that as long as some money was coming in, their Social Security eligibility would take care of itself. They had worked steadily, but not always in traditional full-time jobs, and they never really thought about how work credits were counted. When they finally sat down and looked at their Social Security record, they were surprised to see that some years added fewer credits than they expected. Nothing dramatic happened overnight, but that realization changed how they looked at their remaining working years. They understood that small differences in earnings from one year to the next can add up over time, and that paying attention to how credits are earned can help avoid surprises later. Let me know your state or city in the comments where you're watching from, so I can keep different areas in mind and share updates that are relevant to where you live when I cover future topics. Now let's walk through what actually changed, how work credits function in plain terms, and what this means for your situation based on current SSA guidance as of the latest update. Before anyone can collect Social Security retirement benefits, you have to pay into the system through your work. The way Social Security measures that is through something called work credits. This has been part of the system for a very long time. Over your lifetime, most people need to accumulate a total of 40 work credits to qualify for retirement benefits. You can earn a maximum of 4 credits in any single year. Those basic rules have not changed. What has changed for 2026 is the dollar amount of earnings needed to receive 1 work credit. Based on the latest guidance from the Social Security Administration, the earnings required for a single work credit in 2026 are $1,890. In the prior year, that amount was $1,810. This is an administrative adjustment that the SSA makes periodically as wages change over time. It does not change the structure of how credits work, but it does change how much you need to earn in a year to reach the maximum 4 credits. In practical terms, this means that in 2026, you would need to earn a total of $7,560 during the year to earn all 4 credits for that year. That number comes from multiplying the per credit amount by the maximum of 4 credits allowed in a year. If your total earnings for the year are lower than that amount, you may earn fewer than 4 credits for that year. This does not take away any credits you have already earned in previous years. It only affects how many credits you earn for that particular year. One of the most common misunderstandings about work credits is the idea that they are tied to how long you work rather than how much you earn. Many people think they have to work a certain number of months or quarters to earn credits. That is not how the SSA calculates credits. The SSA looks at your total annual earnings that are subject to Social Security taxes. It does not matter whether you earned that money over a few months or spread it out across the entire year. What matters is the total amount of earnings reported for that year. For example, if you earn around $8,000 in total during 2026 through freelance work or short-term contracts, you would earn all 4 work credits for that year, because your total earnings exceed the amount needed for 4 credits. On the other hand, if you work a seasonal job and earn around $4,000 total for the year, you would earn fewer credits, because that total divided by the per credit amount results in only a couple of credits. Credits are counted in whole numbers, so partial credits do not carry over. This is based on current SSA guidance and how credits are calculated as of the latest update. For people who work full-time and earn well above these thresholds, this adjustment may not change much in practical terms. Many full-time workers will still earn all 4 credits each year without needing to think about the specific dollar amounts. Where this matters more is for people with less traditional work arrangements, including part-time workers, gig workers, freelancers, and people whose income changes significantly from year to year. In those situations, a higher per credit threshold means that in lower earning years, it may be harder to reach the maximum 4 credits. Another group this can affect is people who take time out of the workforce for personal reasons, such as caring for family members or attending school. Years with no reported earnings result in 0 credits for that year. This does not erase past credits, but it can slow down how quickly you reach the total number of credits needed to qualify for benefits. Understanding this can help you plan more realistically instead of assuming that every year adds the same amount toward eligibility. It is also important to separate what credits do from what determines your benefit amount. Work credits determine whether you qualify for retirement benefits. They do not determine how much you receive each month once you are eligible. Your monthly benefit is based on your earnings history over your working years, not on the number of credits you have beyond the minimum needed to qualify. This distinction often gets mixed up, and it can lead to confusion about what actually affects your future payments. Because of how these rules work, it is a good idea not to wait until you are ready to claim benefits to review your Social Security record. The SSA provides a way for you to see your earnings history and your accumulated credits through a My Social Security account on the SSA's official website. This allows you to check that your earnings have been reported correctly and to see how many credits you have earned so far. Catching errors early can be much easier than trying to correct them years later. For people who are self-employed or working in the gig economy, accurate reporting of income is especially important. The SSA relies on income reported to the IRS to determine credits. If income is not reported, it does not count toward your credits. This is not a penalty, it is simply how the system tracks eligibility. Making sure your earnings are properly reported helps protect your future eligibility for benefits based on current SSA guidance. If these clear, verified breakdowns are helpful to you, consider subscribing to U.S. Pension Insight so you don't miss future updates that are based on official guidance and explained in plain language. The most important thing to take away from this update is that small adjustments to how work credits are calculated can affect how quickly you qualify for benefits, especially if your income varies from year to year. The structure of Social Security has not changed, but the dollar amount tied to each credit does change over time. Staying aware of these updates gives you more control over your planning and helps you avoid surprises later. By understanding how these rules work in plain terms, you can move forward with more confidence about where you stand and what steps, if any, you may want to consider in the future.